Namaste. People in a spiritual awakening or a Kundalini awakening, they cry a lot. It is like they're mourning over some loss. The pain is very deep. Many do not understand why they cry like this, and that crying can go on for many years. There could be some phases where you cry more than the other phases in your life. In today's video, I'll talk about this topic. We all are aware that we have many different koshas. Koshas are sheaths. Generally, people think that they exist in this physical body, but apart from this physical body, we have other sheaths or koshas in our body. The Annamaya kosha is the physical body, which is the outermost sheath, which is enveloping our true essence, our Jivatma. Next comes the Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is where you experience the movements of prana, chi, the chakras, kundalini, the various nadis through which you experience flow of prana. They all are part of the Pranamaya Kosha. That is your second sheath. The third sheath is your Manomaya Kosha. That is your mind sheath. This is where your emotional body is. Your deep emotions, your part of your thoughts, they are part of the Manomaya Kosha. The next sheath is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya Kosha is the intellectual sheath. This is where a person is able to go beyond the physical realm. He is able to understand many different uh, subjects which are of mystical in nature, a lot of higher knowledge, intuition, the ability to see through the reality, the ability to understand big concepts at a very subtle level. All these things come from Vijnanamaya Kosha. This is your intellectual sheath. And then comes the Anandamaya Kosha. The Anandamaya Kosha is a bliss sheath. This is experienced once we have moved across all these layers and when we come into touch with the inner bliss sheath. Here you will have the Amrita dripping through your system and you will go into deep states of blissful samadhis. Then comes Jivatma, that is the God particle within you. You are that, and that is represented in the blue circle here, which is inside, written as Om. So we have this subtle structure within us, and spiritual journey is all about moving from the external physical sheath inwards to reach our Jivatma, which is residing at the heart level. When our spiritual journey starts, we start practices. These practices, they start increasing the pranic flow in our body. And as our pranic flow is increasing, we start experiencing deep cleansing, that is emotional cleansing, happening at the level of your emotional body. Initially, later on, you will come to the level of your mental body also. But before that, your emotional body has to get cleared. And clearing the emotional body is the biggest hurdle one will face in a spiritual awakening process. Because our emotions are so strong, so dense, especially those emotions that are related to the lower three chakras. Cleansing ourselves of those emotions is the most difficult part because there's a lot of pain associated with it, a lot of drama associated with it. Moving through that thick layer of, you can call it scum. This emotional body is very dense, and the reason for it is a lot of strong, heavy emotions are associated with it, like anger, guilt, shame, uh, jealousy, lust, greed, the need to compete with others, all the dense, heavy emotions which belong to the lower three chakras, which keep us trapped in the lower three chakras. We have to clear those out. The residue has to go out. It is only when the total emotional body is cleared and even the residue uh, is worked through and it is gone through the system, that is when we can rise above it. But the good news here is you just have to work through your emotional body to that extent where you have understood yourself well and where you have put into practice the learned lessons, or you have moved towards your authentic self. That is, you're trying to be truthful in thought, in word, in action. This way, you take total responsibility for the way you think, you feel. You start looking inward. When you make this change and you're doing it in your daily life, what happens is once a person reaches this level of maturity, he does not have to work through all that karmic baggage in the lower chakras or any chakras for that matter. These karmic impressions or this karmic baggage is within you because you have not learned lessons from it. Once you have learned lessons from it and you have evolved to the next level, all this karmic baggage is burnt up by Kundalini because you do not need it anymore. You don't have to work through all the emotional body. What you are dealing with is only part of it. And once you have learned, you have mastered your emotional body, your mental body, whatever is left will be burnt away by the Kundalini goddess. But cleansing the emotional body is not an easy task. Some may be stuck here for 1 or 2 lifetimes. This is the biggest hurdle, as I said earlier, to cross, especially when we are very sensitive. Because in a spiritual awakening or in a Kundalini awakening process, what is happening is our energy field is opening up. We are more sensitive. Because of our increased sensitivity, our heightened awareness, we can experience emotions at a very deeper level. Any small thing can cascade into a big thing by the time it hits us. And people around you are not aware of it. You alone are aware as to how open your system is, how sensitive you are, and how much emotions you're already dealing with, how overwhelmed you are. Only you understand it. So there is already a distress in the system because of the spiritual awakening that is happening, and added to that, any small event that happens outside will trigger it, or it will increase the intensity of the pain you are undergoing. And fortunately or unfortunately, you will have a lot of external events happening in your life which will flare up your sensitivity, or which will flare up a lot of emotions which you thought you had already dealt and released from your system. You'll be surprised that they're still lurking there within your system and you're not able to get rid of them. You will only understand this when some event from external environment happens and you are again back in that same position where you were earlier, and which you thought you already conquered, which you thought you already took care of, you are more beyond it, but then you realize you're still there. In such situations, we can feel even more helpless, where we have thought we have progressed to a certain level and then we realize we have not. We are still caught up in that same loop. It is very frustrating. All those years of practice, all those years of looking within, all that seems like it has not led you anywhere. I understand this because I've been through it. So, why do we actually feel this pain? When we are born on earth, we are given a name. We belong to a particular family, culture, country. We take on a lot of beliefs, ideas, our DNA. The ancestors have their own energy, which is printed in our DNA. We carry all these things. So, from a state of freedom, we have devolved into a state of a conditioned being. And now we believe that we are this conditioned being. The sense of a lower level of I, The I that is identified with the physical body, with the mind, is what we are right now. And because we are at this level, we are not able to see the big picture. We need to understand that there's a bigger picture. And to understand that bigger picture, we need to raise our vibration. When we raise our vibration, that is when we start removing the density from ourselves, from the various layers that I've mentioned earlier. We become lighter, our vibration starts increasing, and we start moving higher. Our consciousness starts ascending to a level where we can understand that we are not the body, and we can even experience the fact that we are not the body and we are something bigger than that. We are a free soul. So, until you rise to that level, you will have to go through the pain that is part of the process, because all that conditioning, it has got ingrained within us, not in one lifetime but over many lifetimes. Now getting rid of that baggage is not an easy task. It is like you're trying to clean a very dirty wooden floor. You have to scrub it. The floor will feel a lot of pain when it is getting scrubbed, but then it is for its good. This limited sense of I, it wants to create lot of bonds. It wants to create karma. It thinks that it possesses things. It thinks this is my car, my house, my family, my children, my father, my mother, my job. I am beautiful, I am ugly, I'm rich, I'm poor. All those identifications. It wants to get tied with people. It wants to create trauma. It wants to experience drama. So it's constantly getting tied up in lot of lower level drama, where there's anger, there's jealousy, lust, greed. So the limited sense of self, that is the I, is trying to put the person totally involved into the drama that is happening, especially at the lower three chakras. We have a lot of external stimulations also. It needs stimulation. So we have politics, we have video games, we have uh, other types of activities which constantly stimulate us, which keep us involved in the external life. This is what the limited sense of I wants. So once you think that is enough and you start looking inward, that is when you will understand how much of baggage you are carrying. Now, this I starts identifying with all that pain that is there in your body. It will tell you that you are a sufferer. It will tell you that you have invested in the wrong person. It will show you all your foolish acts, your pain, uh, all your trauma comes to surface. Everything is shown to you. At this level, you get attached to the emotions, to the thoughts. The good thing is that you have moved away from the physical aspect and you have started looking within. Especially in the initial stages of the Kundalini awakening process or a spiritual awakening process, that is when the energy is cleansing the karma that is there in the lower three chakras, the person sees himself as an experiencer. That is the identity as I am experiencing this process as an experiencer is very strong here. And because you have identified as being an experiencer, you will experience the intensity of all those emotions which are part of your emotional body. Any bond we create on earth, most of those bonds are karmic bonds. When I say karmic bonds is uh, these are bonds which we create for our convenience, for our need. We create these bonds because we will get something from the other person, or we have not understood the other person properly. That is, when we are getting into a relationship, in that relationship, we are not being open and honest about our motives. It could be the relationship which we have with a friend, with a boss, with our employee, father, mother, wife, child. Many a times we are not aware that we have certain expectations or motives because we all these are part of our subconscious mind, and for an average person the subconscious mind is closed, so they are getting these ideas and thoughts from their subconscious mind and they are not aware of it. Example, if two people are coming together and they like each other, they want to live together, their intentions when they start the relationship will be good, assuming that they are good. But slowly over the period of time, a lot of material that is there within the subconscious mind starts popping up. They never knew that they had these expectations from their partner initially. Now it is all coming up from both sides. So after a while, you will clearly see that the person whom you fell in love with is behaving totally different today. And the person you thought you were, you are no longer that person. You have changed, and the other person has also changed. From where did this change come from? It was within them, it was within their subconscious mind. Sometimes the patterns of our ancestors are ruling us. For example, if the woman gets into relationship because she's deeply in love with a man, she trusts that man a lot, and while she's in that relationship she starts feeling this anxiety whenever she's having a fight with her partner, that he might attack her. He has never attacked her and he may not have any intention to attack her, but she starts feeling that inner deep anxiety and fear that she might get abused in the marriage. From where does this deep rooted pain or fear come from? It comes from her DNA. Maybe if you go back 2 or 3 generations in a bloodline, her grandmother could have been abused by her spouse. Her thoughts, her pain is imprinted in her DNA. And that starts playing out when she's in relationship with her husband. So we are a total package of our ancestors' memories, their energy, our cultural conditioning, our many lifetimes of uh, soul evolution, that lessons that we have learned, all that comes together in this lifetime, and we have to deal with it. But the catch here is we are not aware of it. An average person is not aware of it. In a spiritual awakening process, the subconscious mind starts opening up. So all that deep rooted pain, that repressed memories and that repressed pain starts coming to the surface. Here at this level, we identify as being the experiencer. We start recreating the drama within our heads. We start looking into situations, the people that we dealt with earlier, how they messed up our life or how we messed up somebody else's life. The thing on earth is that you cannot choose your parents. You can choose your partner, but not your parents. And in some cultures, you can't even choose your partner, your parents do it for you. So we start seeing ourselves as a victim of the various situations that happen in our life. We live as a limited being or a conditioned being, and we are mainly played by our ego. Our ego is driving our life here. Everything we do is to gain something or to avoid pain. This is our attitude towards life when we are working from the lower 3 chakras. So, this keeps us tied up in the external drama. For example, when you are getting into relationship, you're getting into the relationship because you have certain expectations from the relationship. You are investing your time, your money, your energy. You're tying a very strong knot the more you invest into it. If the other person is not as serious as you are, and for some reason the relationship breaks, the other person might cry for a while and move along. But because you have invested more and because you are seeking a more authentic relationship, you have tied a stronger knot there. And especially people who are on the spiritual path, they experience emotions at a very deeper level. A normal person cannot even gauge the level at which these people can experience emotions, because the brain centers are opening up, the brain is thinking differently. We are capable of experiencing very different types of emotions and very different depths of emotions. So when this knot gets untied, the amount of energy you put into this knot gets released. This energy is experienced as pain, deep pain. And this pain can stick with us for many months, many years, especially when we are mourning the loss of a person. Then this pain can stick with us for many, many years. No matter how much you cry, you can't come out of it. It feels like an abyss. You're just falling into an abyss. You don't know how to get out of it. What is happening here is, when you are disidentifying with your body, you understand that you're not the physical body, and you start realizing that you're not your mind also. The ego within you is disintegrating. Till now, the ego was running the show, but now the ego has to disintegrate. When the ego is disintegrating from your body, you will feel it as deep pain. Every event that is happening within your life, or any event that you see externally, it will affect you a lot. And when you're crying and releasing that pain or that depressed energy from your system, part of your ego is disintegrating along with this. Ego has a very strong hold over a person, especially when it is a conditioned being. And when we're dealing with certain beliefs which are religious in nature, or when you start understanding that all that you believed in a lifetime was totally false, the people were false, what you saw outside was false, when you can start seeing through the truth, and when you understand that everything that you invested into earlier is false, that energy that you put into believing something, for example, you believed in a particular religion, you had a spiritual awakening, and now you realize that whatever you practiced and believed for over 30 years is false. It can shake you to the core. And all that energy you have invested in keeping that activity or that religion in your life, the strong knot, it's opening up. All that energy is getting released. You will cry over it, because the ego is not wanting to go away. It is fighting back. It wants to stay with you. And when the more you're crying, the more you're releasing it from your system, the more it is disintegrating. Now you are taking charge of your life. You are in the driver's seat, and your ego is going into the back seat. When this shift is happening within you, the ego will not allow you to come into the driver's seat. This is experienced as a lot of pain. What is this ego? It is not an entity, it is your sense of contracted self. That contracted self is now expanding. The vibration is increasing. So everything that is heavier or the denser material within you is falling away from you, and you are mourning over it. Lot of that stress, lot of that impressions that are there within our emotional body have to get released through us, and it generally gets easily released when we are crying, and many of those toxic emotions come out as tears. So we cry. Even men cry. In many societies, men are told not to cry, but I don't agree with them. Even men have feelings, emotions. They want to cry, but they keep all their emotions bottled up. That is not right. Cry it out. When you cry, you release that pain from your system. You feel lighter. You feel you are better equipped to face life. You feel wiser because you have learned your lessons. So all that pain will continue in your life till it gets converted into life lessons or till you make a shift to your authentic self. It is meant to bring you into a zone where you are detached. You are a detached witness, where you live as a detached witness to the external situations in your life and even the inner workings of your mind, when you can step aside and look at how your mind works as a witness to what is happening within you. It brings you into that zone until you cannot convert all those painful life situations or the painful loops into life lessons or a more authentic self expression or a witness state. You are still caught up in the loop or the drama. The ego cannot take hold of you when you are operating from a zone which is very authentic, which is more like a witness state, or which is a state where you're wiser because you have learned certain lessons. And now you know how your ego plays you or how the Maya outside plays you. When you are in that zone, then the ego loses hold over you. You are in charge. Until you come to that level, you cannot clear your emotional body. Your emotional body will always trigger you. The external events will trigger you, your inner mind will trigger you, and you will be caught up in the loops. No matter how much you think you have worked through your loops, all that is a mirage. You're still there. You think you have progressed somewhere more ahead, but then you realize you're still there. So, the sense of progression and the sense of getting caught up is also a mirage played by your mind. As long as you're caught up in these various aspects or dynamics of the workings of your mind, you are or you will experience a lot of pain. The diagram here will explain better what I'm trying to say. There is a quadrant here, four squares. In the first square, you have the type of people who are totally locked up in the lowest chakra. They will do anything for their selfish needs. They have no discrimination of what is right, what is wrong. Anything that benefits them is okay. So they can go to any extent to harm another person for their selfish needs. People in this world who are toxic in nature or criminals or uh, people who don't care much for the other person's well-being, they all come into the first square. The second square, you have the type of people who are functioning from the lower chakras, but then these people are trying to become better individuals. So they might try to get involved in some activities which will make them look good in the external world. For example, somebody might go and join a meditation class because if he takes a photo of his meditative pose and post it on maybe Facebook, he will get a lot of likes. People will see him as something good. So this man is trying to uh, generate a good image to the external world, but he's still not authentic. The type 3 are people who are very innocent. They do not understand that they're toxic people in the world. They do not know that they need to protect themselves. They're like a child, like a baby. They are very sattvic in nature, in the sense that they have a lot of positive qualities, a lot of positive attributes. They want and they only mean good for others around them. They are the ones who are very helpful in nature, very kind, cheerful, joyful type people. And they do not sense danger and they do not understand that people can be dangerous. Few people who are born from other dimensions onto earth, that is, they are not earth soul, but they're born from higher dimensions onto earth, they come into this category. Because they have not had any lifetimes on earth as a human being, they do not understand human psychology. It is only when they have faced a lot of bad situations or painful experiences from fellow beings for no reason they've got troubled, they've experienced trauma, and when they've understood the dark side of human nature, that is when they get uh, wiser. That is when they understand that the world is not as good as they thought it was, and they lose their innocence here. The fourth category is the category where the person is wise, he understands his fears well, he knows how his ego plays him, he understands the external world, he can discriminate the good from the bad. So, the wise person. A shift should be made by others to come into the wise person zone. When you are working from the wise person zone or the fourth square, the ego cannot play you much. You can clear away your emotional body very quickly, and your emotions can't hold you down. But this is not as easy initially when you, because you will get involved, because you are thinking you're the experiencer, you think you're the victim. When you get caught up in this victim and perpetrator mode, you can never come into the zone 4. But once you step back and you can take a witness stance, you can understand how to move into the fourth zone. To move into the fourth zone, it is beyond the scope of somebody who is in the first zone, because they identify so strongly with their body, and the association with their mind is also so strong that they think that is the only reality. So they need many lifetimes to move into the fourth zone. Now, somebody who's operating in the second and the third zone can make an attempt to move into the fourth zone easily. It depends where you are. If you are in the second zone, that is, if you know your bad side, if you understand the dark nature of human beings, you can sense the dark nature within yourself and people around you. You know where you're not authentic. You know this, and you know that you're not being authentic when you're living in the external world. You're aware of it. Then the way you can move into the fourth zone is by increasing authenticity. So, all that pain that you're processing, it should make a shift within you. You have to move into your authentic self and stick and operate from your authentic self. When you do that, you will process your pain quickly. And because you are trying to be authentic or sticking or making a decision only to work from your authentic self and remove every falsity that is there in your life, let it be in the form of relationships or work or thoughts or emotions. When you're committed to it, you will very quickly overcome the pain and learn lessons from it and move into the fourth zone. Once you are in the fourth zone, the pain will not affect you. The ego here has disintegrated to the extent that it has no control over you, and you are moved into the driver's seat of your life. Say you are not in the second zone, but you're in the third zone, where you don't understand the dark side of human nature much. You get easily cheated, you are gullible, uh, you trust very easily. And because of that, bad people or wrong people have created drama in your life and caused you a lot of unnecessary pain. If you come into that category, you are in the third zone. Then how do you move into zone 4 from here? You have to increase your understanding about human psychology, understand toxic behaviors, identify them, keep toxic people, toxic relationships out of your life, set strong boundaries, limit yourself to people whom you can trust, with whom you can create loving bonds, who do not want to pull you down. Have relationships or friends who are of this quality. Generally, people who are in the third zone already are authentic, because innocence has a kind of authenticity in it. They may have very few lessons to learn on authenticity, but generally, most of the lessons that they need to learn are on understanding human psychology, especially toxic behaviors and toxic people. So, educate yourself about personality disorders, set strong boundaries, learn to deal with people effectively. Once you do that, you will see that you will not expose yourself to unnecessary pain in the future. And because you have learned your life lessons, you can easily process your past pain. So you will easily move into the fourth zone. The shift will happen very quickly. Once the people in the third zone have learned the lessons required from to be learned to overcome their pain, and they practice those lessons, they very easily shift into the fourth zone. And somebody who's in the second zone, once they start living from their authentic self, very easily shift into the fourth zone. Even when you understand what causes pain and that you're processing pain, you still have to process it, because the emotion is so strong that no matter how many days you cry, how long you want to isolate yourself from the external world, and you just want to mourn over the loss of something, you're still undergoing it. You are undergoing it because the ego, which is part of every cell of your body, will not leave your body so easily. It is the contracted state. When I say an ego, it is not an entity, it is the contracted state. And this contracted state has to expand. When you come into an expansive state, here you will feel better emotions. But to move into an expansive state, you have to get rid of lot of toxins within you, lot of delimiting ideas, beliefs, patterns, those behaviors, sometimes people, some relationships, some types of work situations, living situations. Inner and outer changes have to happen. When everything is happening correctly and you know how to move through your pain, then you will benefit from all of this. When you cry, when you release emotions, I believe that you become a better person. You develop the ability to understand somebody else's pain. You can empathize with others' grief, others' sorrow. This is the first sign of a saint. The reason saints can feel others' sorrow or others' pain is because they've been through it. Accept your dark side as part of your personality, see through it, move into a more authentic uh, self mode, learn your lessons, allow the pain to get released, the tears to come out, and all this will bring you into higher vibration. Thank you.